right, we're going to begin the show in just a moment here, guys. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, including the fight for President Trump and Thanksgiving. The latest thing that Democrats want to take away from you and me. And that all begins right about now. Welcome to the show. Glad to be here, and thanks for joining me. In just a minute, we're going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving and how Democrats and fearmongers want to take it away from you. There's a lot of stuff happening with regard to the fight for Donald Trump, with regard to not just throwing our hands up and saying that Joe Biden is the president-elect. And by the way, Joe Biden, I don't know if you knew this, but during the first debate with the awful Chris Wallace, who is one of the reasons why so many people are absolutely turning away from Fox News, Joe Biden said that he would not fight. He would not declare himself the candidate until every vote, or the president, until every vote was counted. And of course, like so many things in his life, in his political career, he lied.
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until election day.
Okay. He lied. He lies about everything. He lied about his college record. He lies about everything. And now he is saying that he is the president of the United States. He's the president-elect of the United States. And the media is joyfully bouncing the ball to the lyrics. And tomorrow, hopefully, 1 million Americans are going to gather in Washington, D.C. and say bullcrap. Hopefully. It's really hard to not be downtrodden about it. And there are days that some days I'm really up and some days I'm really down. And some days I think we're going to win and some days I don't. But one thing that I won't do is capitulate. One thing that I won't accept is being called stupid or conspiracy theorist. I know in my heart, and Democrats know this too, there are millions of Democrats who know what they did. They know what they did. There was a giant coordinated effort, and at about, 11:30 or so Eastern Standard Time on election night, 4 major states stopped counting. 4 of the battleground states stopped counting so votes could be rounded up for Joe Biden. Donald Trump was ahead by 600,000 votes with 85% of the ballots counted, and the count was stopped. We know it. We get it, guys. We're not stupid. Stop looking at our face and acting like we're crazy, because this is what communists do. Okay, they call you, oh, you're crazy. You disagree with the government. I mean, you're crazy. You need to go to a re-education camp. We've already heard Democrats hinting at punitive measures against Trump supporters and people who worked in the Trump administration. This is very, very dangerous territory we're treading on. And I'm not going quietly into the night. Tomorrow there's going to be a massive march on Washington, D.C., and I hope there are 1 million people there. And if that isn't big enough, we'll have another one next week, and another one next week, and another one next week, because I am not, and with good reason, I'm not recognizing Joe Biden as my president. It ain't going to happen. You know? Call it what it is. I don't care. Call it what it is. I don't care. The thing that is even scarier than a Biden administration is the shame that it would be if Donald Trump didn't have a second term, because you have a lot of things that are absolutely amazing that he's done. He had the lowest unemployment rate for blacks and Hispanics on record. He had the highest number of women in the workforce. He had the lowest poverty level in recorded history in the United States of America. A Chinese virus knocked us back on our heels. Yet last quarter we had a GDP of 33.1%. We have an unemployment rate of about 6.9%, which is pretty amazing when you consider half of the country shut down. We saw 700,000 manufacturing jobs come back to America. We saw the Rust Belt begin to breathe again. We started to really take pride in Americans building stuff again. We went after China for years of bee-slapping us. We don't see flag-draped caskets arriving at Andrews Air Force Base. We don't hear of massive suicide bombings around the world. We don't see beheadings at soccer fields. North Korea is not launching missiles into the South China Sea. That's the shame of it, if Donald Trump doesn't get a second chance. And the Democrat Party can do a lot of destruction in 4 years. It was a victory yesterday. Pennsylvania Secretary of State issued a directive in all 67 counties before Election Day, allowing voters missing ID to cure their mail-in votes until November the 12th. Well, the court said, nah, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Yeah. The judge agreed with the Trump campaign and the Republican National Committee that the Secretary of State, Kathy Boockvar, did not have legal grounds, lacked statutory authority to implement a change in the identification deadline because state law did not permit it. So that's a little victory. Will it be enough to put Donald Trump over the top? I don't know. I mean, I don't know all of this stuff. This is new ground for me. I've been following politics for a very long time. This is new ground for me. I stick by what I have said for months, and that is the Democrat Party knew all along that Joe Biden was going to lose. And that's why they had this massive effort in place. And if you think there's no evidence, you're going to have to look at the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of signed affidavits under the punishment of perjury if you are lying about it. Hundreds of affidavits of vote stealing, questionable activity at polling places, votes rolling in after the count stopped, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. If you call me crazy, if you call me a liar, say it to my face, it's going to get real ugly. Because I'm not stupid. I'm better educated than most on the left, I might add. You aren't crazy. You are 72.3 million people strong who say Donald Trump, the momentum was behind Donald Trump, the rallies were behind Donald Trump. The polls, we found out, lied again and again to dispirit us from going to the polls, but we could not be stopped. Trump-tillas and Trump rallies were massive. 10 people would show up to a Biden and Harris rally. Give me a break. We're not stupid. We are not stupid. For the last 4 years, we've been called Nazis. We've been called white supremacists. And I heard Chris Plant talking about this morning. And I knew this was going to happen. I predicted this decades ago. I said that sooner or later, the word racist is going to fall on deaf ears. And it has. You can only shout racist so many times when the person you're talking about is not racist. You can only do it so many times, and then it loses its luster, and then it's meaningless, and now it's white supremacist. White supremacists. Okay, let me just say, white supremacists. You know, there's like a couple hundred white supremacists in the country who still have their little rallies and and all that. But honestly, white supremacy is a non-factor. Like you say that vote fraud is a non-factor. Well, neither is white supremacy. Okay, and in the grand scheme of things, it's a pinprick on the issues that the country has today. Unbelievable. So let's move away here. I've got a couple of things I want to say about Thanksgiving. Joe Biden, by the way, he's saying that it's going to be a very dark winter. This is the glorious optimism of the Democrat Party. They're going to jack your taxes up. They're going to increase regulation. They're going to drive manufacturing away. They're going to open their arms to Iran and China again. They're going to open the border, and there's going to be a long, cold winter. Whereas the Trump campaign says Keep America great. It's unbelievable. More than half of Americans say it's likely they won't comply with another month-long lockdown. 61% believe the virus is getting worse. This according to a Gallup poll. So most Americans are saying, and the Biden administration has said, that they will shut the country down for 6 weeks. They will shut down the country for 6 weeks, which will kill everything. Which will kill everything. I want you to think about how dangerous that is, that the federal government could shut down everything. I've talked about this before. Do you realize what we've been through this year? I'll bet you have. The year started off with toilet paper shortages and meat shortages and going to the grocery store and having it look like Venezuela. Then a pandemic was played up thanks to a study by Imperial College in London, which has been wrong about everything. And the United States and the world shut down. And our economy tanked. In New York City, 60% of restaurants will close. It's happening all over the country. When was the last time you went to a concert? You haven't gone to one. Our kids were kept home from school. Our athletes had their athletic careers ruined, their possibility of scholarship ruined, their possibility of a pro career maybe ruined. Kids who perform in the performing arts weren't allowed to take the stage. We weren't able to go to church. We weren't able to go to church. Did you realize in the state of California, they're going to open strip clubs before they allow people to go to church? In Kentucky, people went to church and the police arrived and wrote down license plate numbers and quarantined people in their homes for 14 days. If you were dropped on the planet after a year, say okay, you were on a desert island for a year and you came back and you walked in to our country now, and you went into a business and you saw everyone there wearing masks, and in schools there are plexiglass shields between the students, you would go, what the F? What the F? How did we let this happen? But we did. Some of us went very quietly into the night. I did not. I went to work for 5 months without a mask. Didn't get sick. One person got sick at my work, tested positive for COVID, and he had no symptoms. But we aren't going to take a shutdown. This is one of the many things that the Biden administration would do, provided that he becomes the president. 49% of participants said they would very likely abide by the new lockdown restrictions as cases surge. In comparison, the number is much different to the 67% who said they would shelter in place when the pandemic began in late March and early April. 18% said they would be somewhat likely to follow advice for health officials. Let me see. I've got an article here about what this has cost us. Oh, and I mentioned this yesterday. This is pretty interesting. Less than half of America believes Joe Biden won the election. So if you think you're alone, in saying bullshit about this, then you'd be right. I had a piece here that I wanted to share. Oh, yeah, it says indoor concerts may be safe from coronavirus spread. A new study found this, oddly enough, happened after the election. Let's see. The instance of mental illness. And this is devastating. And it's something that many people are not paying attention to. They're plugging their ears and they are humming so they can't hear it. But there are massive increases in suicidal thoughts, in depression, in alcoholism, in drug overdoses. I guess I don't have the piece in front of me right now because I've got a giant stack of stuff, as Rush likes to say. Do you want to continue down this? You want to keep going? You want to keep going down this road? It isn't. Last night I was feeling very optimistic, and this morning I'm, just kind of like, oh, come on. We're problem solvers, so we'll figure out a way to go. We'll figure out something to do. We'll figure out a course of action, and it'll be on a path to good. Whereas the Democrat Party, they choose an evil path. All right? They knew Joe Biden was a terrible candidate. They knew that Joe Biden had no chance of winning. That's why Kamala Harris was named his VP. She has no popularity. She was drawing less than 3% of polling when she was in the race for president, when she was in the primaries. She spent $15 million to Joe Biden's $16 million. She was the only person who would take it. And the Democrat Party, their path was to steal. Our path would never be that. Our path is to fight. Our path is believe in our country. Our path is positivity. Our path is patriotism. Our path is freedom and opportunity and being able to do anything you want if you have the drive and ambition to do it. And if you make poor life choices in your life, you're not going to be on the same playing field with me. Okay? You're not going to make as much money as me. You're not going to live in a house, maybe a house that's as nice as mine. If you make really poor life choices, if you have a bunch of kids before you get married, and if you drop out of high school, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to go very far. Not my problem, though. Think about the messages of the Democrat Party with the dark, cold winter coming. And the promise. And I want you to think about this also. We were talking yesterday about the illogic of a Biden victory. Think about all of the people. Literally, there are 500,000 people on this site, Walk Away. Okay, hashtag Walk Away. These are 500,000 Democrats walked away from the Democrat Party because they saw they didn't want to go into the long, cold winter. They wanted to go into the light and the positivity and the colorblindness and the lack of, the inclusion and the belief that you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. This is a pretty cool PSA for Trump. Tucker Carlson is his monologue is being used, and this is a stark contrast to stay at home for 6 weeks. We're going to lock everything down, wear a mask. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can't have Thanksgiving this year.
Millions of Americans sincerely love Donald Trump. They love him in spite of everything they've heard. They love him often in spite of himself. They're not deluded. They know exactly who Trump is. They love him anyway. Donald Trump, in other words, is and has always been a living indictment of the people who run this country. That was true 4 years ago when Trump came out of nowhere to win the presidency, and it's every bit as true right now. And it will remain true regardless of whether Donald Trump wins re-election. Trump rose because they failed.
He beat the pollsters, he beat the media, he beat all the predictions, and they've never forgiven him for it. The Russia hoax, the false impeachment. Most human beings under that barrage would have given up. This is the single most resilient and bravest person I have ever met in my life.
This is a political street fight now.
This fight is just getting started.
The Patriots!
You bet your ass it is.
I'm not back down!
We will fight for a fair and honest election.
About President Trump, he needs us right now.
We need the biggest damn rally you've seen in your lifetime.
You ready to stand up? You are not alone. 70 million people are with you.
Tomorrow, baby.
Never, ever give up.
Tomorrow. Come on now. I wish I could be there. I wish if I were still in Washington, D.C., I would be there. 100%. We may get down, but don't give up. You can get down, but don't give up. Parler is calling for a Twitter exodus in Declaration of Independence. They are putting this together. And Parler's good, don't get me wrong. I like MAGA Book too, by the way. MAGA Book is awesome. MAGA Book, I think, is a little easier to use, to be quite honest. And by the way, for those of you watching on MAGA Book Live right now, I went from like 3,200 followers last week to almost 18,000 today. It's huge. And you know why it's important? And I mentioned this yesterday. I've never been able to monetize my Facebook page. I could occasionally boost my t-shirt and swag line on Conservatees with 2 E's. But the day after the election, that I got all my pages shut down. They took them all down. They said it was for a post I did on September the 5th that we resolved. But they really just took all my pages down. And I think I can message people, but that's it. I can't post anything for 30 days on any of my pages. My son is on the opposite side of the political spectrum from me, but he's in college. And I explained to him the I guess to some degree heartache of having 100,000 Facebook followers, respond in a week, and then suddenly the audience can't see me. And that's very North Korean. That's unbelievable. The president's getting flagged all the time on Twitter. YouTube has taken down videos if you disagree with the WHO and their line on Corona. I found that out. I had videos taken down. They were non-published. And I can't tell you how many times that I've seen on my Facebook page, only you can see this. Nobody else can see it. So Parler is incredibly important. Magabook is incredibly important. Rumble.com, incredibly important. If you don't know about Rumble, Rumble is the alternative to YouTube. If you'll notice up here, this month and next month, I'm giving away a freezer full of Wagyu beef from Hassel Cattle Company. I'm also giving away a Pit Barrel Classic cooker to one new subscriber on Rumble or YouTube. I'm going to choose one. You're going to get it in the mail, and it is worth about $800, maybe even $1,000. I don't even know what it's worth. It's a big package. It's worth a lot. Wagyu beef from Hassel Cattle Company and a Pit Barrel cooker. Huge. One person gets it. You have to subscribe on Rumble to me or on YouTube to me as well. All right? But I'm leaving. And, Twitter, this is according to Parler, said in the week that Silicon Valley techno-fascism is threatening internet freedoms as companies crack down on speech they don't like and engage in acts of censorship and blacklisting. They're helping to steal the election. Twitter long ceased to be a public square. They are now merely a publisher, and a bad, biased publisher at that. The startup company said in its Declaration of Independence that Twitter has become a tyrant, stepping away from our freedoms to push their agenda-driven narrative, and it is true. And if I would have known from the beginning, that Facebook was fascistic and would shut down my freedom of expression, I would have never joined Facebook. My Facebook page for my family, it's just family pictures and getting in touch with relatives and whatnot. But my Rob Carson show page is my show, reaching 100,000 people a week, and now nobody can see it. I've had some Twitter stuff flagged. I'm not a big Twitter person. I don't have a big Twitter following because I find it irritating. Let's move on to. Oh, this is kind of funny. This is Max Rose. He ran for Congress in New York. He's a cocky little bastard. And at one time, he called his opponent a joke. He ran against Republican challenger Nicole Maliotakis, New York State Assemblywoman, and she kicked his ass. Here he is. This is him last year, and predicting that he was going to absolutely own her.
So first of all, I am not concerned at all by the NRCC or anyone that wants to try and challenge me, because they already tried once and we kicked their ass.
He's so likable.
Okay? And guess what? That's exactly what is going to happen again. They have been absolute jokes. They will continue to be jokes, and I look forward to beating them by an incredible margin.
No, you got your ass handed to you there, buddy. Here it is. All right. So, Democrats want to cancel Thanksgiving. Democrats have the audacity to say in New York State, if you gather with more than 10 people in your home, you could be fined. I want you to think about that. Freedom of assembly, we've already had it trampled on. We can't go to church, can't go to concerts. Limiting the amount of people. This is so stupid. In Maryland, God. The Republican governor is just such a failure. He's drawing a blank on his name right now. Larry Hogan. They have to crank things back from 75% restaurant capacity to 50%. So the government is going to tell you, well, if you've got 51%, you get a ticket. If you got 49, you're perfectly fine. All of these just stupid rules and regulations. And now the governor of New York is saying, if you have 10 people in your house for Thanksgiving, you are subject to fines, maybe jail time, I'm not sure. And Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who looks a lot like Beetlejuice, is telling the city to stay home for at least 30 days, cancel Thanksgiving, and puts a 10-person limit on gatherings due to this COVID-19 spike. Days after she joined crowds celebrating Joe Biden's win. Yeah. She warned that 1,000 more people could die of the virus in Chicago. She implored them to cancel their normal Thanksgiving plans. Here is Lori Lightfoot, dear God in heaven, who the F voted for her.
We're now seeing an average of no less than 1,900 cases every day. Meanwhile, a month ago, our positivity rate was just over 5%. Since then, it's now almost tripled to more than 14%. In some areas of our city, it's actually at 25%.
Well, why hasn't your shutdown been working?
Or higher. If we continue on the path we're on, and you and me and others don't...
What about when you got your hair done when nobody else in the city could?
Step up and do more. Our estimates are that we could see 1,000 more Chicagoans die from this virus by the end of the year.
And of course, we know from the CDC that the hospitals in this country have a perverse incentive to claim that people died of COVID because they get lots of money.
The more we bend the curve, the more we can reopen our businesses and get our lives back to some sense.
We were told if we bent the curve originally, life would return to normal.
Of normalcy. We are a long way from where we need to be.
Sorry about these.
These next 7 weeks are going to be crucial.
These are sound bites.
Crucial.
Cutting them off.
In how we start 2021. Are we or will we be in a better place? Can we welcome the new year as something that we look forward to and not
if Joe Biden's the president.
Dread.
Okay, and others now.
I am more worried about COVID right now than I have been at any point since March.
Now, of course, Lori Lightfoot did not need her mask a second ago.
A vaccine is coming. The news on that is good. But a vaccine is not the next few months. And the next few months, winter, the flu, and COVID fatigue have the potential.
COVID fatigue? I'm kind of fatigued at COVID, to be quite honest now. What was the expression, live free or die? I've had to live in my home with my son home from school. He was enjoying the freedom of college, having his own place, and he had to come and live in our basement for 6 months. He couldn't see his friends. One of his friends tested positive. He had almost no symptoms, and we shut down the country for that. I have 8 people coming over for Thanksgiving. They're going to stay all day. We're not going to wear masks. We may sing. They're literally our Democrat leaders saying you shouldn't sing. Don't play loud music because you might sing, and singing would project the virus out of your mouth, I guess. Are you out of your effing minds? Are you out of your effing minds? I've got 8 people coming. I just went and visited my mom. My mom's 91 years old. I just went and visited her with my kids. Stayed in her home. We didn't wear masks. We didn't sing. My mom didn't care. She wasn't terrified. She's not living in fear. But I'm having friends over, and we're going to have a hell of a feast. And we're going to thank God for the bounty that we have and the health that we have. And government is not welcome in our home. Government is not welcome in our home. Don't even try to bring it. And if Joe Biden becomes the president and he tries to shut down the country for 6 weeks, F him, and 72.3 other million people are going to say, F you, Mr. Biden, not Mr. President. This is the latest. I think this is in England. This is what they're doing when grandchildren want to see their elderly grandparents. They actually put them in a body condom.
It's a hug.
Oh, that's the hug. Put yours on.
Oh, I couldn't see. Oh.
Listen to the kid.
Oh,
Don't forget that.
Oh, we can put more holes in it to
It's gonna make me cry.
What the hell is this?
I don't like this. Put it this way.
I don't like it this way. Stupid.
Oh, God. This is great.
No, it's not.
Oh.
Pathetic.
So, we'll before we leave here. Okay.
Oh, dear God. Elon Musk says he tested both positive and negative twice for COVID-19 in one day. Claims something extremely bogus is happening. He previously described lockdown measures as fascist. I agree. He tweeted Thursday, was tested positive 4 times today. 2 tests came back negative. 2 tests came back positive. Same machine, same test, same nurse. Rapid antigen test from BD. The 49-year-old may be referring to Becton Dickinson's Veridor Plus system, a 15-minute rapid antigen test. BD is a major supplier of tests to the U.S. government. I cry bullshit, too. I really do. I cry BS, too, in a major, major way. Let me get rid of the grandma condom thing. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. I have one more story I will share with you. This is the moment Portland City Commissioner who demanded $18 million budget cuts from the police in Portland, Joanne Hardesty, who looks a lot like the Predator, called the cops on her Lyft driver. Now, she's all about defunding the police. She says that 911 calls are mostly unnecessary. She literally, as I said on the record, the 911 calls are mostly unnecessary. Here she is being booted from a Lyft car. And the reason being is the Lyft driver said she was a complete douche. Said that she got in the car. She was very pissy, complained because he had the window cracked a little bit. And he said because the Lyft policy is leave the window cracked a little bit to keep air circulating because of COVID. And she didn't want to play along. So he drove her to a gas station that was fully lit and said, get out. She refused to get out of the car. She called 911. The police arrived. Another Lyft car arrived. She finally got out. But here she is, and this is what happens in municipalities around the country that call for defunding the police, like Ted Wheeler when his house got ambushed, when he got ambushed at his home by Antifa members, the police were called to shut down the entire block. This is what liberals do.
COVID-like symptoms? No.
Okay, here we go. Let's try it again.
911, what's your emergency?
She's pretty.
Well, I got a Lyft driver that decided he would just drop me off at a filling station.
Most 911 calls are unnecessary.
He wants me to get out, and I'm not getting out of the car in the dark at a filling station. Not happening. All because I asked him to put the window up, but I'm not leaving. He says I have to get out of his car.
He's calling the police.
Or he's calling the police, so I decided to call for him.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and call ahead of time.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, technically it's his property and you have a civil agreement. There's no crimes involved.
Yes.
Well, he said he was calling the cops. I told him he's not going to leave me on
It's not a crime to call the cops.
Well,
I mean, I can have you. What was that?
I said I am not going to allow him to leave me on the side of the road. I paid for a ride, and he canceled it. He says he canceled it. So I'm just going to sit here until he sends me another ride.
I can't send you a ride. You have to
only you can order another ride.
This is not a police issue, but I will hang up. But I'm not getting out of this car in the dark.
Wow. Unbelievable. All right, so I'm going to go. I've got to go to work. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. It means a lot. The show is growing by leaps and bounds. Again, I'm on MAGA Book, M-A-G-A Book. It's a smaller concern. I'm also on Parler. Everybody join in Parler, and I think it's great. Twigs it. I'm all for that. Leave Twitter. Leave Facebook. When I'm back on Facebook, I'm going to tell all my followers I'm leaving, and I'm going over to those two venues, and then I'm also going to be leaving YouTube and going to rumble.com. Rumble.com is where this show will be right now. I'm gonna put it up right away. So I want to thank you for joining me, guys. Try not to be discouraged and never stop fighting. That's all I can say. Okay? Try not to be discouraged and just keep fighting, because the man in the White House right now, he fought for us for 4 years. He suffered slings and arrows like we can't imagine. He went through 2.5 years of a fake Russian collusion hoax, and the intelligence community, the FBI, knew it was a lie. And then he was impeached for a phone call to a Ukrainian leader while Joe Biden threatened the president of Ukraine if he didn't fire the prosecutor that was looking into his son's oil and gas company, Burisma, where his son was getting $80,000 a month for a job that he knew nothing about. That if he didn't fire the prosecutor, loan guarantees of $1 billion to Ukraine would go away. All right? And the president was impeached anyway, and that evidence was suppressed. And if Joe Biden becomes a president, that all becomes moot, because there are deep staters in the intelligence community. There are deep staters in the FBI. There are deep staters in the Homeland Security. They're all over the place. And there are many, many people, many, many voices rooting against you. The mainstream media, the swamp, big social media, they're all rooting against you. They all want to put you out. They all want to put you down. They all want to round you up. They all want to punish you. You've got to be strong. This fight is just beginning. All right? God bless you guys. I'll talk to you soon.